Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Yes, thank you. Let's wait for a couple of minutes for everyone else to join in. We just have around 4 students who have logged in as of now. I hope my screen is visible. Could anybody confirm if my screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let us commence the class and hope other students will be joining in shortly. So in the last class, if you all remember, I had engaged you all in a session on employee engagement and how important it is to identify and also motivate and encourage active engagement of employees in the organization, because that is very crucial for productivity and increased performance, which will lead to profits and other positive outcomes for the company. So we understood various aspects about employee engagement. In today's class, I will take you all through the concept of talent management, and we will understand the various principles behind it and how it is important currently for the managers, and also to understand as a HR department how it is important for every employee to keep this in mind, that there is a concept of talent management. So at the outset, we will first understand the meaning of talent management. And it is basically defined as the methodical and organized strategic process of getting the right talent on board and helping them to grow to optimal capabilities, keeping organizational objectives in mind. So, what does this mean? Let us break down this meaning for the class. This is something which is a methodical process which goes to say that there is a step-by-step procedures involved to manage the talent in the organization. When I say manage the talent, we're referring the talent of the employees of the organization, and there's a strategy behind it. There is a process involved. It's a system driven process. That means it is not like as and when you feel like you would manage the talent in a certain way and change it later on. No, there is a policy for this. HR departments these days are paying a lot of attention to talent management, and each and every company's talent management best practices would be different. But today, the shift of attention or the shift of focus is happening towards talent management. Why am I saying this is because until recently, at least in the last few decades, employees were considered as a cost to the company, right? So because of them, we need to pay salaries and they were considered as a cost. But from recent trends, it has been observed that many companies have begun investing on talent management related investments, which will clearly put the focus on the employees, where they don't mind spending a lot of money in training, development, and harnessing the talent of the employees, and which will automatically increase the performance and thereby positive outcomes for the company. So they are trying their best as a HR department to, first of all, identify the right talent during the interview process, and then onboard them, induct them, and help them to grow to their best potential. And the companies have to leverage on this best potential and talent which the employees are capable of. This will keep in mind the organizational objectives, and in that way they will try to harness the potential of the employees to suit the company's objectives. For example, if they know that a person is good with a certain skill set, they will try their best to put them in the skill set that they are best with, not in their weak area, because a person will behave the best and perform the best in the area that he's already talented in. So in that philosophy is when the companies today are trying to, first of all, identify what they're good at. Claiming something and not exactly being good at that is a different thing. So companies have to identify really which is the strong points of a certain employee. So the process thus involves identifying the talent gaps and vacant positions. So here there is a requirement of a talent gap in terms of, sometimes you may have employees, but they may not have the required talent that is needed to fulfill the objectives of certain job position. So that's why many positions may be still vacant in a company. They try their best to source for and onboard suitable candidates. When you read a job description of during an interview application process, you will realize that there is a certain set expectations from a certain job, and it is important for you to weed out and filter out the best that is needed for that particular vacant position. Growing them within the system and developing needed skills, that is, the employees have to also be encouraged to grow in their capacities, develop their skill sets, polish their existing knowledge, and train in a manner that they end up being an expert or a specialist in their specified domain, keeping in mind there is a future opportunity or a scope for the same employee to later on effectively engage in maybe another new role. And also the intention here is, if you spend or invest a lot of money on your employees talent management and try to boost their talents and unveil their talents, there is a high chance that they will remain or get retained in your organization, and they will not think of leaving the organization. So all this, when you manage talent in an effective manner, it will automatically motivate the employees to achieve the long-term business goals. So this is the bigger picture of what exactly the talent management will help companies to do. Now, if you just look at this picture, or to say, an infographic, you will realize that, it is not about only managing your employees. Nobody these days wants to just manage employees, but HR department will be only interested in trying to manage the talents of the employees. And why is this being managed? When an employee comes and claims that I have certain things which I'm good at, during the interview, they're going to find out what are your strong points, what is your strengths, and they will then try to use this information that you have given during the interview to kind of place you or put you in a role which will help you even more improve your efficiency and performance, right? So that is something which the HR managers these days will try to do. They will try to probably use a magic wand, or they will have a toolkit with them to exactly know which employee will be ideal for a certain job. So that kind of capacities the HR department are already trained with to find out who is good with which particular talent. So now, if your employees have to be most effective and successful, then talent is the first thing that you need to be looking at from the HR perspective. So we need to start working from talents. When you place a person in a job, it is the strong talent that he is dominant with as an employee will result in engaged employee. So this is very much connected to the previous topic that we spoke about, which is employee engagement. It goes to say that if you have recognized the talent of your employees correctly, automatically, if you place them in the area or the domain which they are talented in, automatically they are going to be the highly engaged employees of the organization. So such employees need very less motivation from external sources. Such people who have been employed where their talent has been recognized, and if they have been put in a perfect match of a job position which they're extremely good at, they are already self-motivated for the job. They don't need any extra push from the management, and they are not going to find it stressful to work in a role which they're already good at. So that's the message of talent management. That is basically finding out the talent, matching it with the right job, and automatically you're going to have a very successful setup. So this is something which has been noticed over the recent times, that if talent has been managed effectively, then automatically you will have a great level of positive employee engagement. Now, moving on to the next aspect of talent management is your role is definitely not to change the employee's characteristics. You as a HR manager should not invest in changing the personality or character of the employees which is suited for a job. So nobody here is expecting you to do something to modify or alter the behavior of your employees. So that's something which would be a futile exercise. So you have a job vacant position. Now you found a person, but if it's not that suitable, you can't expect them to change their nature to adapt to the job. So that would be a very, not a meaningful exercise to do. And there is a high chance that such an employee is not going to perform during your expected outcomes. So they might end up failing, and you will not get the desired results as an organization. So what instead your role should be is to basically find the best employee for the best job, basically find the best candidate for the best job. So you shouldn't try to match the role of the job and try to alter the employee or the candidate. Instead, you should find the best perfect match. If you try to change the behavior, there will be a mismatch. So there is a myth which goes to say that people grow most in their weakest area. Have we really heard of great examples where something is not your strong point and somebody is going to give you that work and say you're going to do very well in it? Go ahead and do it. They may be managers who may try to test you and say, you might, or sometimes even say, employees might say, I'm not good at this. Still, somebody might put you in a role which is not your strong point. Then how do you expect them to give the results that is, going to uh, uh, be very burdensome on the employees? So it is a real myth. People will never grow in their weakest area. There is a very less percentage of chance that they may outshine and do probably give an unexpected result. So what is the fact here? Is that people will grow most in their natural talent. Like some are creative lot, some are very good with numbers, some are very good with visual presentations. Everyone has a certain talent which only has to be tapped by the employers. So as a HR department, it is important that you should place somebody which the talent in which they are very good at and which comes quite naturally to them. So if somebody is an extrovert, please use them for probably public speakings, PR, and various other roles which requires a lot of talking and facing the audience. Whereas if you put somebody who prefers to be on the backstage, pushing them, maybe you can give opportunities for encouraging them. But if you want some results out of it, if there is a lot of money at stake, you should only keep the best foot forward in terms of placing the correct person. So if you go with a myth that let us tap the untapped potentials of the employees who have probably not done well in a certain area, that's primarily because you have not done a perfect matching. It might be a very sadistic attitude to give a task to somebody maybe which they're not good at. So, and expect them with high results is completely insane to do something like that. So please remember, the fact is, even if you get into the HR department or you're in a leadership role in your organization, or if you're going to lead a team, please identify the knack of understanding what your colleagues or employees are good at, and you need to place them in their best natural talent. So that is something you need to identify, and only then you will have star performers. So one of the reasons why you would notice that there are effective employees who are highly engaged is because the talent has been managed effectively in an organization. So if somebody is not performing, it might be a big food for thought to wonder as to what has gone wrong with a certain employee. Maybe one of the reasons is the employee is not happy in the job or the profile that he expected, and he's got another role which he's not good at. So it's always good to probably realign and get the right person for the right job. So that's a fact that you all must remember. Now, if I have to give you like a 3-step rule as to how you could, manage talent in an organization in terms of certain tips, the HR perspective is all about creating the clear expectations. Now, if you have selected an employee for a certain job, it is important that you communicate the expectations clearly to the employee, with the employee. You need to tell them that what is the job, what is the description of the job, and what is expected in terms of the behavior of the employee for that particular job. And because, just merely communicating what has to be done is different from, probably the how of it is also something which is important to be informed to the employees, because there are shortcuts to reach what is being given as a task. There would be the most appropriate and the ethical ways of doing it. So maybe the do's and don'ts, the timelines, the deadlines, the exact clear expectations, so that when the employee reaches the finish line, he or she should be in a position to reach or achieve or attain the expectations of the superiors. So otherwise, if you have not set the expectations right, the output of the employee could be very different from how you had envisioned your task achievement results to be. So that would really waste a lot of your time and organizational effort and also the employee's time. So it's very important for the HR to set clear expectations so the time can be effectively used to reach the required results. Second, after you have communicated what is required, it is very important for the HR department and the managers to unveil the talents of the employees. And this unveiling of talents is only going to be possible through the interview process, because interview is the most crucial stage to unveil the talents. That is where the employee is going to first present what the employees are good at and what is the reason why a company should hire them. So they are going to present the best of them during an interview. There are things which may be on a resume. There might be a skeletal resume sometimes. So not everything can be learned through the resume these days. So that's why you have a one-on-one personal interviews. And sometimes you realize a lot of things which you might not have understood from a resume. So you will be able to get certain talents which might have been off the conversation, kind of a examples, or during a scenario or any personal experience which the employee might have given, is something which will add to the table. And that's when the HR department realizes that we could probably place him in a new role which he might do a great job, maybe out of passion, interest, hobby, which might not even be related to his main core expertise, but even otherwise certain talents is something which the HR department will have a keen eye for, and detecting those talents and interests might end up in a passionate employee for the organization. So that's why interview is a very crucial process, and you will be able to figure out this at a very early stage rather than finding this out very late when the employee is probably trying to put down their papers. So what can the employee do for the company is what you need to find out during the interview. What is he good at? What can he do? So that is when you will understand the skill set of the employees, the abilities and the capabilities that the employee has, the kind of strength that they possess, right? What are their strong points? So this is the what can he or she do aspect of unveiling the talents. The second thing, what you need to find out is what does he or she want. During the interview, it is very crucial for you to understand what exactly drives the employees. Is it money? Is it recognition? Is it growth? There are different kinds of employees who have already kind of conditioned themselves to want something from a certain company, brand association, experience. There could be a lot of expectations that the employees also have today during the joining phase of a company. And most employees today are rooting for experiences, and companies today are trying to create that experience apart from just understanding that employees have to serve the companies. The companies these days also want to serve the employees with a great experience, a great working experience during their tenure in the organization. And this experience will include a lot of things in terms of taking care of the employees, keeping in mind their professional growth, their promotional possibilities. So they have to try to understand what each and every employee in the organization really expect from the organization as well. So it's like a give and take. First, identify what they can do for you, and then you also find out what they want you to do for them. So in that ways, you will understand you will understand that there is a clear understanding of the employee and employer. and you will try to find out what are the life goals of your employees, the interest levels, and what exactly drives them to want to take up this job. So that's something where certain talents may come out of the Pandora's box. Things which might not have been very quite obvious earlier is now probably all laid out on the table. And please keep in mind, if you're going to be in any leadership role or in any role of recruitment, hiring, if you're part of the interview process at any given point of your career, it is something that you should keep in mind, that you need to let them do the talking. That is the candidates to do the talking. On an average, if the interview is for about 50 minutes or so, in the entire time, the HR team or the panelists of interviewers must only talk overall for 10 minutes, not 10 minutes at a stretch, but in the span of 15 minutes, the time that a HR should be talking is only for 10 minutes, which is distributed over this 50 minutes. You need to make them fully at ease so that their authentic self comes out, so that they are free to share what they're good at, even if it's not related exactly to their job profile. So you need to let them talk, and when sometimes the candidates are at ease, they might talk more than what is required, and their real self may emerge, which sometimes is good for the organization, because they realize that they have a candidate who may be good at this, maybe is good at talking. Otherwise, sometimes candidates try to put on a masked behavior and only try to present their best foot forward, right? So you should allow them to talk and have an engaging conversation with them, which will help you recognize certain hidden talents which maybe not have mentioned earlier. Moving on, you have something which is very important for you to do for everyone to achieve the finish line. And finish line is, of course, achieving the organizational goals and objective. And that happens when you match the talent and the expectations, right? So the talent is from the employee side, the expectations are of the company. So if you clearly set the expectations, you will have to identify the competencies and establish the required behavior to complete certain tasks based on the skill set and the talents that is available with the employee. And only when you unveil these talents is when you will be able to kind of create a roadmap for your employees to automatically go in a self-driven path of achieving these objectives. So that is something which will work very fruitful to every organization. So on that note, we will understand the talent management process, which usually is followed as a model, which is something which is predominantly as followed in a standard manner. There may be small deviations to this, but otherwise you would find this model being practiced not only in a practical manner, but it's something which adds value to an organization in reality. So over here, there have to be a certain set of organizational strategies every time, which has to influence the process of talent management. And the organization strategies give the required pull and push needed for this process to be successful in terms of getting the desired performance and outcomes. So the first stage of this talent management process is planning. So you need to plan in advance before you start your recruitment process. You need to plan and identify the talent gaps in the organization. You need to find out which job positions are vacant and what kind of talent you will be looking for when you're trying to get your employees on board. So you will start planning, strategizing as to how you will conduct the interview process, where you will, get your sources of leads from, where will you try to what type of recruitment that you are planning to do for a certain job, and what would be the most ideal type of questions that has to be. So you will do your homework and do the required planning. Post that, you will start attracting your talents. That is, you will either try to poach them from an existing firm. After knowing their talent, you might probably search on LinkedIn and identify a potential candidate who has a very good set of recommendations already. So from external sources or from internal sources, from social media networks, from referrals, you will try to generate a talent pool that is needed to be tapped and identified in advance before you start reaching out to such candidates. So after planning, you will attract the required talent for the vacant job. Third, selection. Here, this is a string of tests that you will use during the selection process to find out that what is the right match for the job. You need an ideal person organization fit. So this fit is not very easy to achieve all the time. So you could organize a lot of written tests, in-depth analysis, a lot of psychometric tests, because you want to not waste anybody's time and recruit somebody who's not an ideal fit. So you will try to gauge all round overall holistic aspects of a particular employee and try to paint a certain picture about that particular employee. And that is part of the selection process. And then once you identify the selected candidates, which is of course leading to recruiting, you will try to definitely develop the attitude that is needed for the job and the company by training the employees in the right manner. And the expertise that is needed to contribute to the business success is something which is going to be developed in a very important manner. This is significant because this will contribute even to a loyalty towards the organization and improves employee engagement. So talent management is not just about managing the talent, but also to develop it to a greater scale. Also, the next stage is retaining. For any organization to be truly successful, and more than success today is being sustainable. Sustainable not only in profits, but also in its employee retention. And every talent needs to be retained. Somebody should not get worn out, and they should not get burned out. Maybe a talent should not reduce. It should always keep going on the positive side of the curve. And this best talent who is really good at something have to be also retained. Value should be given to the best talent. Yes, nobody is indispensable in the market today, but still, sometimes you may be the best in the market. You might be the best in your company. So retaining such talent by giving them promotions, increments, and opportunities of growth will definitely encourage involvement of the employees by getting them on board on special projects, involving them in decision making and making them feel valued is also something which kind of evolves a new role for such star employees of the organization. And hard work and rewards is something which should go hand in hand. So for a great performer, retaining them and recognizing their talents and acknowledging them through a reward system is something that is part of the retaining aspect of the talent management process. And the next stage of this process is transitioning. Here, effective talent management focuses on a collective transformation and evolution of the organization through the growth of the individual employees. So whether it is providing a retirement benefit, conducting exit interviews, and an effective succession planning is very crucial, because succession planning is a very important aspect of talent management. Now, this talent management succession planning is what is next best, which is which can be done for your employee in the organization. Is there a higher role which is probably going to elevate the position of this employee? getting them on board of the directors, or maybe elevating their level, not only in terms of in terms of their position, but also having a great strategic role through a certain employee will definitely transition the development of this particular employee's career itself. So there should be a lot of strategies in terms of transition tools that will enable the shared journey of experiences of their employees. So every HR department should have a very effective succession planning. They should already lay down the roadmap for every employee. If they do this well, they move here. If they do well in this, they should move here. So they should try to create and envision this path for their employees and tell them that what is in store for such engaged employees and how these talents can be kind of leveraged to a higher level. So transition is also very effective. In a positive way, it is going to even transform the the results or the positive outcomes of the company. So if I have to sum up in terms of talent management and employee engagement, which we have been covering the last two classes, it is very important, and research definitely suggests and shows that if you manage the talent of your employees effectively, automatically it is going to lead to higher levels of employee engagement. And it is more so today that employee engagement is deemed to be very specific, and it is getting into an integrated level of human asset management. And here, when the words itself, you can see human asset management, they are considering employees as an asset to the organization and not as a cost to the company, like how it was viewed a few decades ago. Talent management acquires and supports higher levels of skills and knowledge. They're ready to pay for the best talent in the town. Employee manage engagement increases the value application of the skills and knowledge. Talent generates revenue and reduces expenses. So this is what I was talking about. Research has clearly shown that managing talent, investing on talent acquisition tools, etc., is only leading to higher revenues for the organization. That's why companies these days don't mind at all spending on this aspect. And it is also reducing the expenses and costs to the company. Engagement lets them to do that more and do that better. So managing talent is going to uh, have an engaged employee, and he's going to do great at what he's already good at. Businesses now aim to give more attention and action to both talent management and employee engagement to be well directed and well developed. So companies who are yet to pay attention to these two concepts are definitely going to find a lot of roadblocks in managing their employees from the HR perspective. Now, if I have to give you an example of leading companies like maybe Accenture and some of the other global MNCs of the world, these are some of the strategies used by these top companies. Most of the time, if you notice that most businesses are talent-led businesses versus product-led, right? So there is a pool, like a company like Accenture is a talent-led business. So they have to definitely grow their employees, which leads to growing the business. So they really don't mind investing on making sure their employees are trained, developed, and they keep getting that vitamin booster every time. And these small nuggets of programs and things which they probably conduct all the time is going to add more value to the organization. When the employee grows, automatically the company also grows, right? So it is not about hiring smart people alone. So this concept is not just about identifying the smart people, but also about letting them do what they are best at. And that's talent management. You need to identify the talent and allow them to do what they're good at. And when you do that, as I already explained to you, they're in their natural dominant talent area, which is their strong point, and that will definitely unlock the human potential right from their DNA. So what I'm trying to say is talent is in a DNA of an individual. Certain skills may be honed, it can be trained, you can learn, but a certain talent is somewhere already there in the DNA of the employee. So it is very important for HR departments to unlock this human potentials. HR managers have to recognize this in their teams, and only then you should identify ways how you could unlock this. The trend which is moving towards is coaching versus managing employees. So if you try to only manage your employees, it is not going to be very fruitful for the organization. So coaching is the step which has been taken by such companies like Accenture, where significant investments are being done to pivot the performance levels of the employees. So they are having a coaching environment. Everyone is getting the right support and the right positive push, which is going to really do wonders with their existing talents, right? So they taken the coaching stand on how they deal with their employees rather than managing them, which has a negative connotation. Also, they would definitely advise, because they have experienced themselves, that these companies believe that one company should not skim on the investment in building such coaching capabilities. So you should also have a trained HR department who are also having undergone the train the trainer programs, will then further on train the employees, and they do not believe at all in skimming this or cutting the budget for this requirement, because this is a huge cost in getting the right trainers and involving a lot of training sessions in various destinations. It is quite an expensive affair for organization, and many companies would try to cut cost, but such global MNCs do not believe in that, and they want to spend the money, and they find it a right investment because they're investing in their employees and not in anything which is deemed to be futile. So the last thing that these companies, I would like to point out is, of course, they might be doing a zillion of things to manage the talent, but these are the important things what I found. And they have a culture of counseling families. Now, this counseling families culture is having a sense of counseling within the teams, where there's a group level of counseling when every colleague is trying to mentor and counsel somebody. And they really enjoy this culture because everyone is trying to recognize, encourage, support, push another person to achieve the organizational objective. So there's a lot of group dynamics involved here in counseling families, and this kind of a setup really makes them feel heard, and sometimes it could solve their confusions, problems, stress, any stresses that might be at work which is stopping them to showcase their real talent. So counseling families is another aspect of talent management which is being considered by a lot of companies of the world today, right? So on that note, I have completed what I had to say about talent management, and I hope you were able to clearly picture what exactly is talent management. Is there any questions? We have the last 5 minutes for question answers or any observations. Anyone who would like to share anything? Any questions? Are you all able to identify the difference between employee engagement and talent management? Can I have somebody who would like to probably share this difference? Ms. Ashley, would you like to share the differences? Ashley, Dinesh. We can have an interaction in the last 5 minutes. Mr. Justin? Is Mr. Justin online? Any other volunteers who would like to share the difference between the two concepts? Am I audible? Dear students, am I audible? Miss Salrina? Hello, students. Am I audible? Are you all still in the class?
Hello? Yes.
Yes, Mr. Justin, could you please share your thoughts on how different is employee engagement from talent management, keeping in mind both the topics that we had covered from the last class and this class? There seems to be some technical issue. Okay, is there anybody who'd like to share any strategy which is used in their company for talent management or employee engagement? Anything? I heard that a couple of you are working in organizations. What are the HR departments doing to manage talent? Your own personal experience, maybe? Anyone? Last class, I had an example from one of the students in any.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible now. Please go ahead.
Yeah, for our organization, the talent management is done through skill set trackers.
Okay.
So when the employees on a skill set tracker is sent out to them to understand what skills they are good at from previous organization or being a fresher, what
Okay.
skills have they learned from college level.
Okay.
So this is mapped with the kind of accounts they are allocated to and identified what they need to divided to 4 levels. If the L1 the lowest level, L4 being they are able to teach another person the skill.
Okay.
So these 4 levels, and only once a person reaches L4 are they allowed to face the clients.
Okay. And was the skill set tracker part of a software, or was it just like a form which was
It's a
sent out,
form.
like a survey form?
Yeah, survey form.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you, Mr. Justin. And that's a very great way for this company to identify the talents at an initial level by using a tool to figure out what the existing skill set of the employees are. Like I said, we could always say they could have found this during the interview, but it's not possible. Even after the interview, when you take somebody on board, you need to have a thorough analysis of what exactly an employee can do and cannot do. And as Mr. Justin mentioned, that they are being ranked and rated, and they're trying to identify who's good at what level. And as we heard, that a person who goes in L4 is only allowed to has a direct interface or an interaction with the customer. So in that way, they are able to kind of have a very systematic process in identifying talent, managing them, so that there's a win-win situation out here. Excellent. So I'm sure every company would have different strategies like this, which is going to help them acquire talent and then manage talent and also leverage the talent. Yes, thank you so much. Would anybody else like to share any example in their organization for how they're managing talent? Anything else which you have experienced, which might benefit the other students in the class? Or any questions if you have for me? Okay, hope it was a useful session and you were able to kind of identify the difference between the two concepts. Thank you so much for joining in. And
Hello, ma'am.
yes,
Ma'am,
please tell me.
I was present, but I couldn't connect because of technical issue.
Okay, I'm sure the admin team will be able to look at it. I'm not
Okay.
able to handle the attendance. You can write an email later on, and if there's any issue, you can contact the coordinator.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining. Have a pleasant weekend ahead.